we have already looked at finding the equation of lines given some information, right? Like given the slope and the y-intercept, given the slope and a point, or given two separate points. Now we can actually find the equation of a line from a graph. So the first thing that we really have to do in this case is identify what I call nice coordinates. And what nice coordinates mean are points that fall right on the corners of boxes that are formed by the grid here, right? So we have a nice point here, we have a nice point here, and we have a nice point here. Okay, so there's our three nice points. So I'm going to need to find the slope and the y-intercept. So if I have points, right, 2 points, I can find the slope between those 2 points by just using my rise over run definition of slope. So I can choose any two of these points to find the rise over run between them, but I generally want to choose two that are closer, that are closest together. I don't want to choose the one on the left and the one on the right, so I'll use the left one and this middle one. So to get from this left one to this middle one, what do? My rise is actually a fall, so it's really -1, right, because it's down 1, and my run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So rise over run is -1 over 4, and that's my slope definition, right? Slope is rise over run, so my slope is -1/4. So now what I would do is I would try to find my b. Now the b on the graph, though, of course, is the y-intercept. The problem is I don't know what that is by looking at it, right? It's somewhere between 0 and 1, but I'm not sure what it is by looking. So what I can do is do what I had done before, go to my equation now, y equals mx plus b. I know m is -1/4, and now I also have some points that I can use, right? So I have any of these 3 points I could use. Let's say I wanted to use this point, which is 1, 0. I could replace x with 1 and y with 0, and I can now solve for b, right? So I can replace y with 0. M we said was -1/4. Can replace x with 1, and b is what I'm trying to find. So I have 0 equals -1/4 times 1, which is -1/4, plus b. And now how would I solve this? I would just add 1/4 to both sides, and I would end up with b equals 1/4. So now I know my slope was -1/4 and my y-intercept was +1/4. So the equation of my line is actually going to be y equals -1/4 x plus 1/4. And then you can see from the graph it does look like, all right, that point, I didn't know what it was exactly. I knew it was between 0 and 1. It's definitely closer to 0. So 1/4 actually makes sense for that to be the y-intercept. So there's the equation of that line from the graph. And then just a few final notes here that we had talked about in the intercept section, I believe. Remember, a horizontal line has a 0 slope and an equation of the form y equals b. So it can't be written in the y equals mx plus b form. It just has to be a special line, right? A horizontal line is a special line, and you write the equation as y equals b. And then the vertical line, right? It's not a function. It has an undefined slope, and it has an equation of the form x equals some number, right? We had talked about that briefly. So if you were going to write the equation of the horizontal line through the point -3, 4, well, I know the equation of the horizontal line has got to be y equals something. And then all I do is I just look at my point. Well, in my point, y is 4. So the equation of the horizontal line that goes through -3, 4 is just going to be y equals 4, right? And then for b, I would realize, hey, the equation of a line with an undefined slope, well, undefined slope means that it's going to be a vertical line from here, right? Vertical line, undefined slope, and it's got to have the equation of the form x equals some number. So again, I just look at my point, and at that point, what is x? The x value is -1. So in this case, the equation of this line is x equals -1. So those were just special lines that you can't use slope-intercept form on, because, you know, they can't be written in that form. They're just going to be written as y equals some number for the horizontal line and x equals some number for the vertical line.